the meeting is intended for kids.
Yeah, that's what I do in church.
Yeah.
We'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Most of the time, it's good for kids. All right, we'll consider for approval minutes and agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and agenda.
I'll second.
A motion from Jens Holden, a second from Smith to approve the minutes and agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion carries. Discussion with possible action regarding COVID-19 policies. Julie, are you on with us?
I haven't heard anything.
Well, maybe we'll table that for now then. If she comes on, we can catch.
Oh, I'm here. Sorry. I was not mute. I was unmuted. I need to unmute. Sorry about that.
Well,
I am here.
You're unmuted now.
I am unmuted now.
So what do we got going today?
The last 14 days we were at 12%, and the last 7 days we're at 14% with 52 positive cases. Where the CDC has us at 14.85. We have 49% vaccinated in our county and 50% in the state. We still are holding our clinics on Thursday and Friday, and peds are on Monday by appointment only. The hospital admits are up by 2 with a total of 49. ICU has 6 in them, and that's down 1. And they admitted 2 more up to yesterday. So they're still not doing elective surgeries, and just put an eye on it and want, if you need to get vaccinated, please call our office.
Okay. Anything else?
There is one, that new variant that is out there is one case in Blackhawk County. But that they've been isolated and they got tested because they traveled, and so far there's nothing else in Iowa with the new variant. And the mandate I saw, I believe it was last night, we haven't gotten word yet, but it was on the governor's page that the 8th Circuit ruled to deny the stay, so we're just waiting to see what from the CMS to see what's going on there. But I believe for our agency, we have everything in place. So.
All right. Anybody have any questions for Julie?
No.
All right.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, thanks, bye. Set public hearing for re-precincting plans and first reading of ordinance for re-precincting.
12/28/21 at 9:30 a.m.
What time?
9:30 a.m.
I'll make a motion to set the public hearing for re-precincting plans and first reading of ordinance for re-precincting for December 28th at 9:30 a.m.
I'll second that.
A motion from Derby and a second from Smith. Set the public hearing for re-precincting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
This is the new plan, the new precincts. They're pretty much the same, but that's what they look like.
Pretty much the same, just slight adjustments? Or?
Slight adjustments in billing, well, in all your districts, I guess, but a little difference here, and we took some from Susan and added some to Terry here, added some to Bill's here.
So I've got the north side of the blacktop down 2 of them.
Mm-hmm. So
Do you have the official population numbers then?
Yes.
I looked them up online and got it, but I didn't know if it was the
Well,
same.
they're not real, how do I have township numbers, I have,
Because when I look up like Forest City, they only give you Forest City as a total. I don't know how much you're in Winnebago County. And, you know,
in the whole, like, in the whole county, or?
I was looking up every town in the county and just Googling it and trying to find the actual census numbers.
They're not very user-friendly
No.
this time. I can give you what I have, but like I said, it's not,
Did you get a number for the county then?
yes.
What is, do you know what that is?
Off the top of my head, 10,679.
That matches what I come up with. I don't know if I have it here.
I have it in the office for sure, but
The numbers I saw, Forest City went up and Lake Mills went down again, and Buffalo went down, Thompson was just barely down.
I mean, we didn't lose a whole lot of population, because I think our, I can't remember what it was last time. I mean,
Sure, we lost some in the rural areas
it was only a couple hundred though that we were down by. So I mean, it
altogether.
wasn't terrible. Not compared to what it could have been.
Lake Mills seemed like they're on a trend up downward. Kind of concerning. All right. Let's see, we'll go on to Scott probably. Hi Scott, we're ready for you.
Yeah, when I was reading the agenda yesterday, that re-precincting is not an easy one to say.
Yeah, and I had said it several times.
It just wouldn't flow in my.
Seems like 10 years ago was easier. Now, for some reason, it's not.
Well, last time we did redistricting. We didn't do re-precincting.
See, and I kept having redistricting in my head, and then I'm like,
So to me, the re-precincting should be more where the precincts are, not necessarily the districts for us.
Well, so technically, my job and the precinct, the temporary precincting temp commission or whatever it was that met yesterday, our job is to draw the precincts. And then we submit this to once we get the ordinance done and the public hearing, we submit it to the Secretary of State. Then the Secretary of State submits it to the Legislative Service Agency, or the LSA, and they draw the supervisor districts. Whereas in the past, 10 years ago, we drew the supervisor districts.
So these lines were drawn by the LSA.
No, these lines were drawn by us. I drew the precincts.
Oh,
I didn't draw supervisor districts.
okay.
The LSA will draw supervisor districts
And that's
from
different?
what I drew precincts.
That's different?
Yes,
Okay.
because technically, I don't have supervisor districts yet on this map.
Oh,
I just have precincts.
it sure looks a lot like it, doesn't it?
It will be
Won't it be
the
the
same.
We didn't take that into account yesterday
Okay.
when we were,
Are you here for that 9:30?
I don't know if I'll be able to stay though, because there's some stuff going on in the county that I need to go do a whole bunch with.
Well, I have a lot of questions for you, so,
That's why I wanted to be here.
well, we're at roads now, so,
Yep, no problem.
I'll let Ethan give the update.
all right.
Well, I guess we plowed snow on Saturday. That's our biggest update. Got some guys putting some equipment away since pretty much done with the dirt stuff. Since we've got too much snow now, and it's got enough frost on the ground, so putting equipment away, stuff like that. Kinda licking some wounds from the weekend, just getting some equipment back up and running, and stuff like that. Still plugging away on the newer truck that we got for the Lake Mill shops.
So it was pretty easy snow, wasn't it? Everything was pretty firm and not soft.
Yeah, and then the afternoon it warmed up enough, so we ran maintainers on the blacktops and scraped them down thin enough, so we used very minimal amount of material in the slick spots.
More than I can say for Cerro County. Oh my
Yeah.
God. It was like this thick on the road with grooves, and your car just went like this, and it was dangerous, and the wind was crosswinding.
Yeah, I don't know why they had so much, I guess. I don't know if they had a lot of material down before the snow and that's what made it stick or what, but
And on Thursday, the DOT got caught with their pants down. The interstate was horrible. They couldn't even get to the off-ramps to sand them because there was trucks wiped out by the off-ramp at B20. So that I think the county had to go down and back down and sand it for them so the trucks could get off because they closed down the interstate.
sure. Yeah,
So it's nice to know we were prepared.
I think we knew it was coming, so we tried to put minimal amount of material down on Thursday when that rain froze because we knew it was gonna snow, so tried to stay ahead of it, I guess.
So it was a good opener.
Yeah, it went from really nice to it's here now, so we'll see what Wednesday brings. It's in it.
It's supposed to get rain.
65 and rain,
Yeah,
warm rain like that should melt a lot of stuff, I would think. Make it really sloppy.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, they're talking later at night, and then with that rain, it'll cool it down real fast on the pavement, so it'll get
Depends on
pretty
Snow, freezing.
where it goes and when it gets here. If it gets here too late, it might just be snow.
snow or ice, yeah,
Talking bowling snow the next day.
yeah. It'll be interesting, I guess.
Batten down the hatches.
Yep.
Anything else?
Basically it on the road part, on that part anyway.
Yeah.
Not too much. We'll have paving plans for approval next Tuesday. That's the submittal date for the DOT. We would have had them approved, but we haven't gotten comments back from the DOT on our check plans. So we'll have to do some scrambling to get whatever changes they want done first part of, well, probably Monday, and then have them on the agenda for Tuesday. So that's something to look forward to for next week.
Okay. Any questions for them?
No questions?
We'll move on to consider for approval of plans and authorization to proceed for storm sewer improvements on Linden Lane in Rice Lake neighborhood.
Sent out an updated plan, just tried to clean it up so that once we tuck it in the file, it'll be useful in the next 10, 20 years or whatever when we want to look back at it. And this is kind of a plan sheet like we put together for the bridge or paving. So it's got signature block for me and for the board as well, just to document that it was approved and was, designed by an engineer. Probably make notes on it as we put it in if anything changes. So we would order supplies if it's approved now, and the intakes are kind of custom made by us. That's just how it works for intakes that size. So we'll work on those through the winter sometime if we have some free time, and then,
What kind of design are you looking at?
well, it's 24-inch concrete pipe on end. They sell the pipe and then a base cookie, they call it, and all the pipes that go into it need to be cut in. So cut out dog houses and concrete them back in.
There's chairs. If you want to grab.
So if we can do that in a shop or something in a controlled environment and then take them out there in the spring and just set them in with all the pipes and everything already cast into it and just use couplers to tie in the footing drains and everything else.
So is that what you guys were doing out there digging the other day? Trying to figure out what to put in for that culvert or?
We were looking for property pins. We'll have to get those shot so that if we disturb them, they can get put back where they were. And we also just wanted to pick the right location so it was near property line and not, you know, stuck into the middle of somebody's property, so we might have this issue again. So found what we were looking for, and I think we got a good plan.
What did you say you were gonna do about the trees?
There's one tree will need to come down there in Jack Turley's yard, and then the others will just stay.
Now, one time you said something about boring through the tree or something like that. Or...
Jeremy suggested if the tree needed to stay absolutely in order to get his favorability for the project, that he could shove a pipe underneath the tree. But apparently that wasn't the sticking point he wanted to agree to, so I guess that's been dismissed.
It probably would have killed the tree anyway, eventually, you know.
I would think so.
Yeah, to be just two or 3 feet underneath of the, you know, main root ball of the tree. Never know. I mean, you see trees fall over and the roots are in the sky and the tree's just as green as it ever was.
Yeah, root balls sometimes get pretty well spread out too.
But that tree's kind of too close to the road anyway.
I mean, you could really catch your
Oh, yeah.
wing or whatever you call those.
There's one nice part out there right now. You can tell where the edge of the road is when it is snowing. The tree's right there, so.
Yeah.
The tile you put in is gonna be non-perforated then, or
That's the plan. Don't
just
see any
have
reason,
stakes?
yeah, don't see any reason why it needs to be perforated.
Yeah, well, there's other trees in the vicinity too, so you're gonna have tree root problems at some point.
Is this 12 or 15?
15 from the top of the hill down to the bottom, and then 18 across on the road. With good grade on all of it too. So.
That should be much better for when new roads go out there too, shouldn't it?
Deeper sewer with better grade, I think is better for everything.
Do we all need to sign that or?
Yeah, I guess what the block is on there. That's typical for a plan, so I appreciate that. Yeah.
This one signed?
If when you approve it,
Yeah, when we approve it.
Oh.
Does somebody want to make that motion?
Yeah, might have some
I'll make the motion.
dissenters over there.
To approve the plans and authorization to proceed for the storm sewer improvements out at Linden Lane, Rice Lake neighborhood.
I'll second it.
Got a motion from Smith and a second from Jensvold to approve the storm sewer improvements at Rice Lake. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. You may now sign your document.
Thank you. Just waiting for your permission.
Consider for approval utility permit to Winnebago Cooperative Telecom Association, buried fiber cable on 90th Avenue.
this is just service work. A small project crossing the road for fiber optic. Is on that too.
Acreage or for a hog building? Was it, there was some, or a
It's
bin site?
bin site.
Bin site, that's what it was. I saw it somewhere. You must have sent it out.
Eric sent it out. You know, Eric, when
Yeah.
Eric does the inspections now for utility.
Thank you, Bill. dryer shack or something.
Yeah, I suppose all the computerized, like, you can run your dryer from your phone now.
Yeah.
I think that's in your district, isn't it?
And some. I can make the motion for approval utility permit to Winnebago County Tele, WCTA, for fiber cable on 90.
I'll second it.
Motion from Smith and a second from Jesholt to approve the utility permit for WCTA for fiber cable on 90th Avenue. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, let's see. So I'd like to go to open forum, since Andy's here.
Do we need to stamp this?
Technically, we can't talk about
Just
the
signature
property over
sharing,
here, but I'd
Carla.
like to ask you a few questions about 911.
Sure.
What is the plans for your tower, and what actually is the tower used for?
The tower has essentially all of our communications equipment, our public safety communications, as far as our being able to talk to law, fire, EMS, any outside agency, other agencies across the state. That equipment is in there, as well as paging, any paging for EMS, fire, things like that. The no weather radio transmitters in there. So essentially, our public safety communications is in that equipment shelter, as well as we give space to the National Weather Service for their no weather transmitter.
Now, as people get on the 700, is it 700 we're going
Yes.
to?
Yep.
Does that eliminate the need for the tower, or is?
No, we still have our switch, or essentially it's our the brains of how it works. We're connected by WCTA fiber between that shelter and the new public safety center. So there's not anything physically as far as communications infrastructure there.
Okay. What is the tower at the 969 junction for?
That is a state-owned tower that provides essentially the wireless portion of it. So when you push to talk, the way that the system works for us is we are what's called a core connected PSAP, or public safety answering point. So what happens when somebody, one of our units out in the field, they push the button to talk, they talk, it hits that tower or whichever tower gives them the best signal. And it goes from there into what's called the core, which there's 3 of them in the state of Iowa. And then it says that's Winnebago County traffic on this certain talk group. It sends it to our console into our dispatch center, or sends it to our switch into so that console is nothing more than like
Steve,
a big computer.
have that chair over there.
So that tower is, again, it's not a county resource, if you will, but it is, I mean, it's something that everybody uses. That's what takes it from in a mobile or portable environment and sends it into the system to be able to be heard by us or whoever it's intended for.
So if in the future we're to want to eliminate that tower right here, what's going to have to happen?
We'll need to put up another tower.
Okay.
Yeah, because the VHF paging isn't going to go away. We looked originally when we were building that building, Jen and I looked at trying to, is there a way that we could move it all out there? Because we have the space for it. Problem is we're in a glide path for the airport. So FAA and FCC would get together and they kind of said, probably not. Is it possible? Sure it is, absolutely. But so then we need to look at an alternative location, something obviously that's close enough to fiber so that we can still have that connectivity that we have currently. So the way that it would work is that we would have to either find an existing tower to lease that's anywhere between $1,200 and $2,500 a month, just for the lease space, depending on how high you go. So let's say we build our own tower. Anywhere between, depending on height, anywhere between $100,000 and $250,000 for the tower. Then we'd need to bring in a shelter, like what we have over there. That was a, kind of scratch and dent sale type deal, as you can see. But so we'd need that shelter, and then we would have to replicate that equipment because really at no time can you say, well, we're not going to page you guys for 3 or 4 days while we're moving equipment from one shelter out to this new one. So essentially we would have to recreate what we have there in a new site, test it, make sure everything works, and then do essentially a cutover and decommission all that stuff. Now that doesn't mean that stuff in there is junk. I mean, we would have to figure out a way, we would have some service disruption, which means we wouldn't have the ability to communicate with officers, fire, EMS, whoever else, for a certain amount of time while you literally unhook it, take it out, and recommission it. There's ways around that from just the general communications point of view, but like the paging would have to be essentially reconstructed there, and then with probably either loaners or buying new equipment, something like that. All said and done, it would, a 100% ballpark, just Andy's guess, no technical expertise as far as pricing. All said and done, maybe between $400,000 and $600,000 for that new site. Again, that's a guess. I could be way high or way low.
How does obsolescence of the equipment work into this? And are you saying you can't rent the towers from somebody else?
Well, we can, yeah. It's just we need to build that infrastructure prior to decommissioning anything there so that we still have the capabilities.
So that infrastructure, say we lease the tower, that infrastructure is gonna be, what, 150,000, you said?
Yeah, that's, again, Terry, that's just really a guess. Unless we would really get into the nuts and bolts of it to see, but it's, because obviously there's gonna be labor and things like that as well, and I don't wanna sit here and say it's gonna be X amount of dollars, because that wouldn't be genuine. And I don't wanna give you a figure, because to be completely honest, it'd be a total guess. But yeah, to lease, we looked at a lease down in Hancock County within the last 6 weeks to be able to put, it was like a couple antennas.
Conference unlocked.
Pops, was about $1,500 a month at 190 feet, which is about where we need to get. All those antennas over there would need to go someplace else. So we need to buy new antennas, new coax. I think tower hourly up tower charges are about between $450 and $600 an hour. So again, and we would bid that, before we do anything. It would be a lot of groundwork to try to figure out what we need to do to,
In the case of obsolescence of the equipment, you're still faced with the same situation. You've got to put everything together and all that sort of thing.
Right.
And so irrespective of whether this tower or a rental tower or a new tower,
Yep.
that's still got to be done.
Yeah, we have to recreate what we have. And again, there's ways of doing that between finding something that is, getting into service life and just replacing it. We kind of have to do an inventory. Obviously, our console, that's 6 or 7 years old. That's about a $250,000 piece of equipment. That wouldn't need to be replaced just because it's brand new. So trying to come up with a way to not have any type of service disruption and there's gonna be some. And we have backup plans, I mean, for our normal day-to-day communications. You know, we have the ability in both Winnebago and Hancock County to take their, we can take Hancock counties and dispatch from Public Safety Center almost at the flip of a switch. It's a lot of programming and things like that. We have the ability to do that as backups for each other. So the daily traffic can be overcome if you need to move something. The paging capabilities is more considerable. But you're not talking about super expensive technology. You've got some transmitters that are between $10,000 and $15,000 a piece. I think there's either 3 or 4 of them there. And then you have all the control stations to be able to send out the tones to the correct agency depending on where you're going. A few $1,000s here or there. It's what gets you is the labor, the up tower charges and things like that to be able to do something. You know, and that's why I wanted to be here, because is it possible? Absolutely, it's possible. But there needs to be significant amounts of planning, and then ultimately who gets to pay for it, because the commission, as you guys know, the county owns the ground. The commission is in control of and has ownership of the tower itself and the infrastructure on it. So then the commission would have, I mean, between the commission and the county and who's going to pay for this, because commission members might say, I'm not going to pay a bunch of money for something that we didn't need to do. But they might also say, let's do it. You know, I wouldn't be opposed to anything that we do, just in the fact that if we can make it better, get a better location, I'm all for it.
It's farther north, a better location for us.
It could be. Yeah, it could
Say
be.
the WCTA tower north of town or something.
Yeah, wherever. Yeah, anything's possible. It's just how much is it going to cost?
Well, we have our 9:30 public hearing for transfer of real estate, former LEC. I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll second it.
On a motion from Derby and a second from Jensvold to open the public hearing for the transfer of real estate, former LEC. Does this have to be a roll call, or is it?
No, just open it.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries. So, this all led into, conveniently, our discussion on this contract that we have to look at.
Excuse me. Is,
Is Kristen online?
yes,
Kristen, are you online?
Yes, I am.
Oh, good.
Morning.
Welcome.
Good morning.
thank you, sorry for the interruption.
Steve, did you look at the most recent version of the development agreement that Kelsey sent out?
Yeah, I took a look at everything she sent. We've talked on and off last week and yesterday and that sort of thing. And as to the development agreement, I think we're pretty much there. One of the things that I received from her this morning indicated that the indemnification and the insurance were not necessary in the development agreement because they're covered in the lease. Development agreement was changed to that there will be a security interest. However, that security interest will be removed after the payment of the second $40,000, because at that time we will, the Irish Hospital Apartments will have completed what they need to do. That is
Substantial completion.
of the development agreement. So I think we're in pretty good shape as far as the development agreement is concerned. As to the lease, there are a couple things that we talked about, or I saw this morning, and possession, paragraph 3, the last sentence in that, that can be removed. It's probably, it says should landlord be unable to give possession on said date, you'll be able to give permission on that date to remove that. Paragraph number 9B, liability insurance. The amounts are left blank. I'm sure the county is like every other municipality or county in the state. They have substantial insurance limits right now. Whatever your limits are, that's fine. So we're not too worried about that. I think the Irish Hospital Apartments is willing to pay, the surveying and all that sort of thing. But we need to figure out the term, that's blank. Obviously, we're not expecting the term to be 2 years or something like that. And Andy's point is well taken, that what you're talking about here is a lot of planning and that sort of stuff. We have suggested 10 years, we'll pay for all the costs of surveying and that sort of thing. I'm not sure that where we're coming from in 10 years, and it's probably obvious from the questions I had of Andy about obsolescence. When you start talking electronics, it's almost, not quite, but almost as bad as furniture. If you buy a Davenport and put it in your pickup, by the time you hit the road out of the parking lot, you've lost half the value of that, and as I said, the phone I have is probably 2 years old, and it's not obsolete, but electronics goes away pretty quickly, and so who knows what the state, the federal government will say to all counties, all municipalities about the type of equipment that you have and that sort of thing. And so we think that 10 years is reasonable. Right now, with the way things are going at the federal level, I think it's very possible that grants would be available. Was it something I said?
He's an emergency management person.
Yeah.
He has to go out.
And so, anyway, that's where we're coming from as far as the 10-year. At some point in time, as Andy indicated, the 28E owns that tower, and if it is to be moved, the cost of removal is something that we probably need to start thinking about right now as a part of this lease. It's your tower, I guess. We're open to suggestions, but if it's a 28E tower, they probably should be the ones that legally would have to remove it, but less the scrap and that sort of thing. So I guess
I don't know the tower necessarily depreciates as fast as the equipment, but I'm guessing there'd be some value for sale or something. Maybe somebody would remove it on their part.
Yeah, Beth called Jim Koloff, and Jim indicated that you can go out online and find, towers for sale, FOB, the site, and that sort of thing. So I think your point is well taken, that either between salvage or the fact that still may be torn down and used someplace else, as Andy was taking guesses and educated guesses as to the cost of anything, I would say, as far as the value of the iron, it's going to be market at the time.
Market and availability.
Yeah, and that sort of thing. So, but yeah, I think the development agreement is pretty much in final form. The lease, you probably need to have a discussion as to we do need to have a discussion as to the term and any sort of costs associated with removal. And so I guess with that, we'll open it up for questions. If you folks have any questions, either myself or Kristen, and that sort of thing.
The original terms of the lease was a 99-year lease. So we're building a new tower that we don't need to build with moving equipment that we don't need to move. Spending more money that we don't need to spend.
But there are interests in possibly getting a better location too. And we have not signed any 99-year lease.
No, but that was what we talked about from the beginning.
Like everything else, it's subject to terms of negotiation.
So I guess I was in favor of the 10-year lease just to push the issue that maybe we can, or try to relocate the tower. I mean, here we are at the corner of the county, basically. Is it doing its best job here, or can it do a better job somewhere else?
And is the extra improvement worth the cost of moving it or relocating?
Right. If we do the 10-year lease, we're committed to moving towards that.
10 years isn't very long.
Gets shorter every year, doesn't it, Bill?
That's something. I hate to get in a place where you're jammed up and have to panic and do it too. So.
Well, it's, if there are extenuating circumstances, I don't see Kristen jumping up and down saying you've got to move either.
If we make it 50 and we get it done in 10 or 15 or 25, that would make me feel a lot better than saying we're going to do it in 10 and have to push it.
50 years is, none of us will be overly worried about it by then anyway, but even if you just left it to 99 with the option open that we do want to do something different in the future, and as the technology changes, we may end up being able to do something different without, we can just have it removed for the scrap, or, if there's, who knows what the future will bring with this radio technology. Maybe everything will end up on that tower down by 69 and 9.
As I understand it, the commission operates under, the county pays 50% and the commission pays 50% on the funding.
The county pays 50%, the cities pay 50%.
So there is some amount of input from the commission that would have to be done to, I'm not sure on a lease like that if it should be approved by the commission. We're selling the property that we've always, as part of our 28E, have provided for that use. So I don't know if the commission is going to have to approve the lease.
I am unfamiliar with the 28E agreement. I hesitate to speculate or say anything about that. What would happen, and I have absolutely no authority to do this, and Kristen will probably come through that phone at me, but what would happen if we did a 10-year lease with it renewable for 5 years, a couple of times, get it out to 20 or something like that. I can't believe that.
Just to keep it in the forefront that it needs to be discussed.
Yeah, and what I'm thinking there is that I keep coming back to how fast electronics become obsolete. And Bill's point is well taken, that you sit there and there may be some sort of situation that would, wouldn't require, that much of a tower. I mean, that we've got a little bit different system. And, innovation is kind of a part of capitalism, and if you take a look at it, the cost of those towers it's probably a bigger part of the cost than the equipment itself. And if somebody comes up with some sort of innovative way of eliminating those towers, I think they're going to make themselves a very, very wealthy individual for that reason. Kristen, did you hear what I said about a couple of 5-year extensions on the lease?
Yes, I did, and actually I was going to suggest that because I'd rather have the conversation more frequently, even if it's in 10 years and then every 5 years after that, than putting out a 9-year lease and having everybody forget about it. My main goal is to provide on-site parking for my tenants and to improve the look of that property. I understand the EMS or the Emergency Commission's concerns and respect that. So we want to work with you on that, but I'd rather have the opportunity to rehab the conversation and keep it in the forefront so that options can be explored on an ongoing basis than to just put a 99-year lease on it and have everyone kind of forget about it.
Well, all right, we can go with 10-year and then extend it, but I don't want to limit on how many 5 years we can extend it either. It's, I mean, if we signed the 10-year and then we went on the good faith that we would, that you wouldn't force us to do anything after 10 years, or we could do it the other way around, sign the 99-year lease, and then we'd have the good faith to say that we're going to try and do something in the future as technology comes available to whatever's going to cost the county the least. And when this whole thing started, that thing was always there. And so that's been something that's not something I think we need to be overly.
When was the tower built?
Oh, God.
I don't know if it went up in 74 when you took over the property, or
That would be the earliest.
I assume it's something to do with the LEC being down there for many years.
that's when it transferred to
Yeah,
law enforcement.
I guess where I'm coming from is that if it's a 10-year lease with some 5-year renewables, that, as Kristen stated, at least it comes up on a regular basis and can be looked at.
In a way, it's kind of in our best interest to let them provide on-site parking, because we have parking issues in this area sometimes, especially when we're under construction.
Well, I mean, I'm not against removing it in a sense. The thing is a bit of an eyesore where it's at. It's too bad.
Cost of it.
It's too bad they built it there in the first place. You would rather have something like.
The cable's short.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they would have built it outside of town to start with in the first
I
place.
think back then, I don't think we had fiber optics
Yeah,
to be
no,
able to
yeah,
go outside of town
no, they had
from there.
Yeah, I mean, the technology at that point in time probably dictated the location more so than anything. Which I guess goes to my point, technology may dictate that
We
very same
already
thing.
leased lines, fiber optic lines from WCTA to get from over there to here. So it's not gonna be much change there. It's just a new set of equipment and new location, whether it's by the month or by the capital improvement. Kelsey indicated in her letter that she didn't want us to approve a final version until she sees it. So I guess we could send it back as a proposal as far as the lease goes. Are we still gonna be able to transfer the property without a lease in place though?
Yeah, there's gonna have to be, some good faith there that,
Kelsey said that we should wait till next week and sign all the documents at one time next week.
Okay. So what do we wanna put in there for a lease? Do we wanna put the 10 with the renewable 5s?
I think it should be more than 5 renewable, because if it originally started out as a 99, and like you
Well,
said, they knew it
There
was there.
can be no, there's no limit on the 5-year renewables.
That's what I'm
We'll
thinking.
talk about it, we'll sign a new lease every 5 years and discuss it every 5 years,
After the 10-year lease.
after the 10.
That's
We're
what-
going
that's
through
how I
Go
think
to
it should
10
be.
and then 5 years after that until one way or another it's resolved, you know.
And it will always come up, it will still be addressed, and,
so
and
what's the maximum we're talking about? Carla indicated 50, as opposed to 99.
I think 99, I mean,
So,
it was
yeah.
in place when you started.
I don't want the county to get in a position where they're forced to do something. And, so it should be renewable, and then when it becomes, the technology or whatever in the future comes, say after even 10 or 15 years, if the technology becomes available for us to easily, move everything and dismantle this thing, then we do it. But until then, if anything's gonna cost us $500,000 to move it, we don't wanna do that, so it's, so I think no limit on the 5-year renewables, just have it
Just say
renewable every 5 years.
renewable every 5 years after the 10.
Up to 99.
Yeah.
It was in place when the whole thing started.
I think this became more viable for parking once it was finally determined that the addition was not salvageable. And
Yeah.
that's when we started looking at more parking. And we waited as long as we could to see if maybe you could save that addition. And
Then I guess the procedure today would be to close the hearing, table final determination until next week, and then we'll have the development agreement, the lease, and everything in final form. Have the certificates that Carla has to sign, copies of the resolution setting the hearing, copies of the resolution approving, and all that sort of thing. So we have all the documents ready to go next week.
do you have to have another hearing?
No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
no, you just, no, it's just, the hearing is jurisdictional.
Okay, so I got a question on the lease part of it. Do we have to have a hearing for a lease since it goes past one budget year? I mean, we're
No.
paying $1 once.
If you were granting the lease, yes. You're
I'm
getting-
just looking back to
Yeah,
when we lease equipment in 2 different years. We have to have a public hearing for that.
Then you were getting the lease.
Yeah, see, in this case, the best way to put it is, if the county is the landlord and it's for a period of time more than 3 years, the lease period, you have to have this same hearing. But if the county is the tenant, which they are in this case, no. It's just,
I'm just thinking back when we leased to, have a lease to own on equipment for budget through the year, we had to have a public hearing.
and that's more along the lines of, I'm making an assumption
Financial
here that
commitment.
probably could get me in trouble, but if it's anything like the city, you're financing it, is basically what you're doing, and that becomes a loan agreement, and you've got to have a hearing and all that sort of thing for that. And
Here it's
so-
cash up front.
Yeah, here it's, the dollars be payable up front. So, but, and you're the tenant, so no. Yeah.
Well, I think got the details kind of worked out, so they know what to put in it.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to, oh, we should ask, is there anybody online that would like to comment on this public hearing?
Did you get any written or oral objections?
All right. So, hearing no such comments, I will make a motion to close the public hearing for the transfer of the property.
I'll second it.
On a motion from Derby and a second from Jensvold to close the public hearing for the transfer of the real estate of the LEC. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. All right.
And then we'll have, 2 resolutions next time, and all the paperwork, ready to go.
All right. Thank you.
Sound good?
I'll have to check with Andy and see if the commission needs to be involved at all for that lease agreement. Anything else you wanted?
I don't think so. I'll take the documents from you. And I'm gonna just, Carla, your signature on that one.
Sure.
Alrighty,
Everyone,
thank you.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Now I have everything.
There you go.
Never put my purse under a chair.
Oh, I would have got it to you sometime.
Yeah,
Can I tell stories?
I'm kind of known for leaving a little trail.
All over the country.
Yes, Terry has picked up after me in other states.
There you go.
Okay. Person's here?
Yes.
We're ready for drainage.
It's gotten to the point where when I stand up at home, my knees crack, and the dog knows I'm getting up. She'll be sleeping on the floor, and she'll get up and want to go. She is sound.
I scared the cat the other night. I was sitting just like this with my knee, and it went pop, and the cat's like, somebody gonna break me. I get up and my left ankle closes. Good morning.
Could have been. Doing great. Hi.
So, what do you have for us?
I don't have anything today.
I have one thing.
Okay.
When we were at that meeting, the IDEA meeting,
Oh, uh-huh.
discussion on having a resolution in place for all kinds of projects to make sure we protect our drainage districts. And I know we have it for turbines and the power lines that came in. We had things in place. Are we covered for all types of projects?
As far as what kind of resolution?
What it is.
Oh,
to-
pipelines. If there was ever a pipeline that came in, is our resolution?
I would think that they would have to get the same special use permit as anybody else.
I know that we are covered through the wind turbines because I've had payments from
Right.
people. As far as the others, I guess I don't know.
I mean, we had to coordinate it with the ITC line.
ITC. and
But I don't know if we have a separate drainage resolution.
Yeah.
Well, no, we don't. We don't.
So I don't know if we're covered by our special use permit, or if we need to maybe pass a resolution to cover all those bases.
Okay.
So it's in place before somebody came in and started pushing through a project or something.
There was a couple questions from the audience that day that was made us think
Yeah.
about it for sure.
Yeah.
because I know when ITC came through, we made sure that, you know, if there's any work to be done under the power line, you know, it's kind of tricky if you got big equipment under a power line, you're having to dig.
Right, because they only let it go, you know, so tall. And
Yeah, but I think aren't they, it's that they burden the costs under the power line? Any extra costs?
I don't know about that part.
I
That
was
was thinking
thinking-
Scott. I think he did that.
Do you remember that? If there was a repair under a power line, wasn't some of the extra cost burden on ITC? Since they were crossing?
I think so.
Yeah, it seems like the extra cost of that.
I've not ever billed ITC back for anything, but maybe it hasn't come up
It
either.
hasn't come up.
Yeah.
It's been in there.
I know that they paid for repairs when they were building it, and they made sure that everything was fine. But I don't,
We haven't had to actually do any work,
No, but I think it's in the agreement with them.
because there are, I'm sure, crosses, dredge ditches that are gonna have to be cleaned at some point with a long stick, and I don't know how that stuff can arc, but it'd make me nervous if it is.
I think within so many feet of each side of it, you know, within, that's their easement, I mean, they're in control of that, just like we are on the road, we have a right of way. So, I think we made it, we can check into that with Scott and see.
yeah, and I don't know, I can check with the other clerks to see if anybody else has a resolution already.
You know, the only pipeline we have in the county is that anhydrous pipeline that crosses things, but
Now, the new one that they're talking about coming through Iowa,
it's not in our.
it's not in our county, right?
It goes south of us.
Well, we got.
They
we got
talked about that, too.
Natural gas one too.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Yeah.
To the corner of it. Well, I don't know, and I don't think, there are laterals that go through the
It
county.
goes from like Crystal Lake, and then it cuts up
It's west of
just
Buffalo.
south of Buffalo Center.
Yeah,
It goes into Cassuth.
so it's the corner there, but there's also laterals over by Lake Mills, going into Leland and to Port City. So,
But yeah, that new, I don't get it. How long is it gonna take to fill
they're,
them
they're
caverns?
existing, it'd just be more of a, if they had to repair it, it's at where the crossing is.
I can check with some other clerks to see what they have.
Interesting.
Maybe check with Scott. I'm sure you've got a copy.
I've got copies, yeah, but he did most of that work. He did all the legwork.
Okay. Anything else from anybody? All right, well, thanks.
You're welcome. All right, thanks, Chris.
See, consider for approval auditors transfers.
Make a motion to approve the auditor's transfers.
I'll second that.
A motion from Jones, Gold, and a second from Smith to approve the auditor's transfers. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Open forum again.
Last week, I forgot to, you guys didn't look at this payroll, I'll just do, there's some drainage, there's some manure management, sorry. There's for you.
These need to be stamped as of last week?
Yes, please.
Yes. I should have got those before I changed the date.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, he talked about that we didn't have them.
Well,
And
yeah,
then we never
And
went and
then-
got them evidently, huh?
yeah, I don't know what happened.
Because we approved it.
Yes, you did.
Which one is that one?
That was the 7th, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
you place specific, you want, there's not much room on any of the
You know,
pages.
whatever.
You want it on the front page?
But yeah, that's perfect. I think what happened is the week, or the payroll before, they forgot to do the assessors, and so you just looked at the assessors and thought that was the payroll, and then,
We all have to sign this.
no, just Terry, because it's
Terry?
payroll, yeah.
Oh,
The
no,
claims
it's
that you all
claims
signed.
we all signed, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
That's my hypothesis, anyway.
See the,
Call from restricted, hold on.
well,
It's governor.
Hello?
it's usually a scan.
Good. The only reason I answered it is I know Hannah's traveling today, and sometimes restricted numbers come from cops.
Oh.
But it was the Public Assurance Clearinghouse.
I'm sure. I'm gonna win, they said I was. Yeah.
Can you make these copies here, Carla?
Was it Danielle?
Mark somebody.
I just know Danielle, she's the one that's always smiling, giving out a check.
I don't need the Public Assurance Clearinghouse.
Well, I need it.
Well, I need it,
Don't wanna
but,
deal with it.
yeah.
We all could use that.
Yeah, I would like them to bring me one of those big checks, but
I did have one.
I
Tried
just want the balloons.
I had one incident, I could probably tell you afterwards. Is that it for open forum?
Lord, I hope so.
Is that enough?
I think
All
so.
right, then we stand adjourned.
Alrighty.